The next short opening piece has to do with something that struck me as remarkable, only because occasionally people are honest. That's unusual, and then government people are honest. That's downright amazing. And here we have one that I couldn't resist. This is from a story in Bloomberg, the financial service, today, December 10th. And it has to do with Luxembourg. Now, Luxembourg is a very small little country. I'm assuming most of you have never been. It's lost there somewhere around Belgium and France and Germany. It's a little place. Population, and last time I looked, about 500,000 people. It's not a very large place. But it's not only a city, it's a country. Well, it's a city with some suburbs, and that's the country. And so they've decided years ago that they don't have enough land to grow much. And why be big in the industry there? Because you got France and Germany and Belgium and all the other places right around it that are bigger and have bigger labor forces. So it's hard. I want you to have compassion. It's hard for the Luxembourg. So what they did is they decided to do something similar to what places like Switzerland have done, or the Cayman Islands, or Bermuda. They allow you to come there if you're a company and to have an office. It turns out if you have a city, you can build lots of buildings that contain lots of offices. And it's not necessary in the modern world of capitalism that anything go on in the office. You don't have to produce anything or sell anything. You just have to have an office, preferably with a mailbox attached, so that mail can come and mail can go. And Luxembourg is chock full of offices. And in these offices, the following transaction happens. The Luxembourg government enters into arrangements. Arrangements. I have no idea what the word means, but they're comfortable with it. They speak about it all the time. These are arrangements with corporations to give them preferred tax treatment. Preferred tax treatment could be loosely translated as low or no taxes. Low or no is a more clear, simple English, but preferred treatment is better for the Wall Street Journal story. But you all understand it's for low taxes. This has been famous for years. But it's all kept secret because they have laws, like in Switzerland and the other countries, that there's no reporting of any of this, so it's very hard to know. Thanks to modern technology, a lot of this business is done by computer and email. And as you all know, everybody and his brother can now listen and watch whatever it is you do on email or in your computer. So a group of journalists, decent men and women, and if you're not familiar with them, they've become very active. They're called the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. I kid you not. The ICIJ. And they go around and do a great deal of snooping. They're professional journalists. And they like to snoop in those things that journalists have traditionally, of the muckraking type, have liked to do, to catch things that people don't know about. So over the last few months, they have done some more work, and I now want to give you a listing of the companies they have disclosed who have these special arrangements in Luxembourg. And before I read you the list, I want to make sure you understand the economics of it. Take a company. I'll pick one out of the hat, one you've heard of. PepsiCo. You know, the drink. PepsiCo. Now, PepsiCo makes a lot of money. This is a very big, a very successful company. All over the world, people drink whatever that is that's in that bottle or that can, and they drink a lot of it. So PepsiCo makes a lot of money. Since the drink, I don't mean to disparage anything, but the drink is, as you know, sugar and dark-colored water. It turns out that sugar and coloring and water are cheap. Cheap. It doesn't cost anything. But you pay $1 for a glass of the sweetened, colored water. Therefore, the difference between the cost of the drink and what you pay, even deducting the cost of the can, which exceeds that of the drink, is enormous. They make a lot of profits. This raises a business problem which courses at business school are designed to deal with. Okay, you got a big profit, now you got a problem, Mr. or Miss Businessman. You're going to be taxed on that profit. Profits are taxable. So here's your problem. In the United States, the flat corporate tax rate, official corporate tax rate, is 35%. So technically, most corporations do not pay that, but because there's deductions and all kinds of arrangements, you can get well below that. But you start with a calculation that you're obliged to pay 35%. If you go to Luxembourg, and if your profit shows up in Luxembourg and not in New York, your tax rate could be between 1% and 5%. Now, most of you will notice there's quite a difference between 35% and 5%. Enough difference that we're talking billions of dollars in that company alone, and I'm going to give you a lovely list of companies so you get an idea of how popular Luxembourg is. Now, what happens is the company then sets up an office in Luxembourg. I mean an office, 20 feet by 10 feet, 2 desks, 2 wastebaskets, a cat, and a mailbox. And they fill out some forms, and they have a subsidiary. PepsiCo, I'm just making this up, that's hypothetical. PepsiCo of Luxembourg. Often this will mean not one can of this stuff is sold in Luxembourg. Doesn't matter. It's an accounting mechanism so that the profits show up at the subsidiary of PepsiCo in Luxembourg rather than showing up on the books of the parent company in New York. Therefore, the profits are taxable in the jurisdiction where they occur. So they pay a tax to Luxembourg. The reason the company does it is it drops its taxes from 35% to 5%, saving billions. The effect on the United States is that vast amounts of taxes that would have been paid by American companies to the American government, thereby funding schools, hospitals, roads, and all the other stuff that the government does, is never received in the United States. A small fraction of it is received not in a country of 325 million people, but in a country of 500,000 people. Of course they're happy with 5% or 3%. They're still ahead, percentage-wise, of what we've lost. This is a disaster, and it's not just happening to the United States. British companies do it, German companies do it, companies from many parts of the world. So I just want you to understand what a wonderful thing free enterprise can be when it has good relationships with governments in places like Luxembourg. So here we go. I'm going to read you some of the companies that are involved, and then I'm going to read you a wonderful statement by the Finance Ministry, an official statement released to Bloomberg today when Bloomberg went, the reporters, and asked about this. So first the companies. Ready? Here we go. These are companies that are now revealed to have these relationships with Luxembourg. Walt Disney. Even Mickey has such a deal. Microsoft's Skype unit. PepsiCo. The IKEA Group, the furniture folks. The FedEx Corporation. And who arranged this? Who arranged this for them? The following. PricewaterhouseCoopers. Those of you who know, that's one of the biggest accounting firms in the country. Deloitte LLP, that's another one. KPMG and Ernst & Young. That's it. That's the basic big shots of corporate accounting. They all have been doing this activity. Nor are they alone. the Hong Kong-based Hutchinson Whampoa, the private equity firm Warburg Pincus. I don't want to miss any. Amazon.com, the Fiat Corporation, Starbucks Corporation, Apple Corporation, and on and on and on. And now the statement from the Finance Ministry. Pay attention. This is one of those moments when a government official either has had too much to drink or has had a moment of an attack of terminal honesty. Okay. Quote, and anyone who wants to see this is from Bloomberg today. Luxembourg agrees that the legitimacy of certain mechanisms which are compliant with international and national law can be put in doubt from an ethical point of view. It takes genius to write crap like this. I mean, you got that? It's okay. Doubts can be raised. Okay? Here we go. Non-double taxation agreements and the interaction of different countries' tax systems, here we go, now quote, here we go, can lead to a significant reduction of a company's tax burden, comma, or even no taxation at all, period. It's a burden, you see. They've relieved a burden. The big company came with a burden, and Luxembourg lightened the load. You have to feel a little bit here. You have to understand that, yeah, you could doubt this all if you had an ethical point of view, which clearly the people I've mentioned don't suffer from. They don't have that kind of point of view, or if they did, they lost it, and maybe they'll get it back. Why do we have a crisis of the government's finances in the United States? Why do we have terrible deficits in the United States? Why does the government have to make up the deficits? One of the reasons is corporations, and I just gave you a list, a small sample, are avoiding to pay billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars by these mechanisms. And it's wonderful for Luxembourg. So for those of you that travel to Europe anytime soon, and if you go to Luxembourg, enjoy the parks in Luxembourg because you paid for them. Okay.